I'm ready.
Alright. Alright. Welcome to another Sunday Superversive live stream. I am your host, Ben Wheeler, and I'm here with my co host, Anthony Marquetta. We've already got Bradford Walker in the comments, who is dissatisfied with E3. Wow. It's it's the only people who are hyped for E3 are the games journalists. Like if there's a dead horse, a dead seagull around the neck of gaming, and you're not allowed to say James journalists or Todd Howard, Todd, buy Skyrim again. It's the 10th anniversary edition. Please, I beg you, I have a mortgage to make. Todd Howard. Well,
Fantastic.
that's exactly
And
honest.
you know what?
Mhm.
I didn't even like Skyrim very much.
I have never completed Skyrim because a bug almost always prevents me pursuing the main quest.
I got bored on how long the travel times were where you do nothing. Just running, running, running. That's why most open world games don't do it for me.
Raul Nyanzi says E3 died when they banned the booth babes. Absolutely right. Uh,
Oh, hey. Hello, Nyansi. I don't know how to pronounce your first name, and I'm not going to try before I butcher it, so that's why I'm using your last name.
that's fair.
At least if I pronounce that wrong, that's a little more reasonable. But
So,
nice to see you here.
yep. So I've got a list of games going through here. At the top of the list are two Left 4 Dead knockoffs. I'm not even
I
joking.
am I am okay with that.
Yeah,
First off, you know that Valve is still doing updates on Left 4 Dead 2.
yeah, but like you could play Left 4 Dead, but the thing is, there's two of them. Two of them at the top of the
I get
list.
you.
There's the usual
Look,
Battlefield.
I I would have loved for them to make a Left 4 Dead 3 one day. I think it's a game that could benefit from updates and whatever. Left 4 Dead 2 is a surprisingly large improvement over the original Left 4 Dead. I know this because I have an Xbox and a PC. I bought the original Left 4 Dead because I saw it cheap at a store, and I was like, oh, it's basically the same game, right?
Right.
But when I played that, and then I played Left 4 Dead 2, Left 4 Dead 2, like, it's a surprisingly noticeable improvement. So I think that there's definitely stuff I could see them doing in a Left 4 Dead 2. But the thing is that Valve just decided to take the route of like they keep adding updates to Left 4 Dead 2. Even now, when did that game come out? Like a
Mm,
decade ago, and I think the
yes.
most recent update was earlier this year. And don't get me wrong, it's one of the greatest co-op games ever made. I think that that's generally agreed too. I don't think I'm saying anything controversial there. Uh, so I'm okay with seeing people coming out with Left 4 Dead knockoffs. It's been long enough that I'd like to see somebody take the basic concept in a new direction,
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
it does.
But you're right. Two of them is a little bit like, two of them is a little really, you know,
Yep.
that's funny that they're coming out with two. I remember
Right.
there was like Back 4 Blood was being advertised for a long time. For at least a few months now, I've been seeing advertisements for Back 4 Blood. Was that one of them?
Yeah, that's one of them. The other one is the
Yeah.
Anacrusis, which I think will be a failure. So you've got somebody who looks Hindu, a black man, a white man, and then an Asian girl.
So the original Left 4 Dead has one of the greatest cutscene openings ever made. Left 4
Yes.
Dead 2's is okay. It's fine. The original Left 4 Dead's cutscene is legitimately like it's a short film, and I will sit and watch that when it comes up on the screen. It's one of the only cutscenes that I won't skip by. Uh, and they make a lot of hay playing with movie tropes, so I feel like the relatively diverse cast of Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2 kind of works for what the
It
game is
does.
supposed to be. For what the game is supposed to be as like a B zombie movie, it four people from completely different backgrounds who need to come together to survive. Like I think that
Yep.
diversity in this case is sort of okay for that idea. But when you're trying to force it and you're doing it to make a point, that's when it becomes not fun.
Yep.
Like if I hear them going, "Yeah, we picked a diverse cast because we want to give the sense that you're people from completely different walks of life coming together." Okay, I can buy that. You know, for the
Yep.
concept of what Left 4 Dead is supposed to be, which is you're playing your way through a B zombie movie. Like I'm I'm okay with that explanation. Not that I've ever heard them give it directly, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
Uh,
Like it made
like
sense in Left 4 Dead 2 to a point because it was Nick. I can't remember the other guy's name. Coach and
Coach
Rochelle
Ellis.
Ellis.
Yeah, Ellis and Rochelle.
So like it made sense in the South because that's the highest population of African Americans in the country. Like why wouldn't you have a white and black team going through it?
Although
But
it's pretty
hmm?
funny that among the Left 4 Dead fans, Rochelle was despised, and like Zoe from Left 4 Dead 1 was like a really popular character,
she
and
was
they
probably the most
actually
popular
made a
character.
yeah, they actually made a really fantastic Left 4 Dead comic to tie into like the lore
Oh
between Left 4 Dead
yeah,
1 and Left 4 Dead 2,
with her
and the
dad.
comic is actually really good.
Oh, it's so good.
Well, it's how they meet up with each other, and then gonna spoil it. Not that it matters for Left 4 Dead, honestly. The story doesn't matter, but Bill sacrifices himself at the end,
Yep.
and he has that incredible scene where he's just lying there on his own. There are four tanks in front of him, and he goes, "Hold on, I want to take a smoke first." Lights the cigarette, smokes it, and then he goes, "All right, let's get started," and just starts machine gunning. And then you actually get to play that level in Left 4 Dead 2. And there's the achievement. You have to pick one guy to stay behind to sacrifice themselves. And the achievement, if you play as Bill and sacrifice yourself, is kill Bill.
Duh.
So it was pretty great. So yeah, I'm okay with seeing a new Left 4 Dead, and I'm not even necessarily like. If it wasn't modern day, hearing that it was a diverse cast wouldn't bother me. The fact that it is modern day makes me suspicious of everything.
Yep.
Like, I don't trust their motivations.
Oh, and you shouldn't. You absolutely shouldn't. Like, there's no trusting motivations in this day and age. Ridiculous. Nonsensical.
But I do think it was a pretty interesting experience to play. Like, I never would have played the original Left 4 Dead if I hadn't just seen it on sale for like $5, and I thought, oh, it's basically the same game. It was a pretty interesting experience to see like just how big of an improvement Left 4 Dead 2 was, just in subtle ways. How the AI, the zombie AI changed, and how they added different aspects to the game. It was definitely better, except in one aspect. In Left 4 Dead 1, the maps are way better than the Left 4 Dead 2 maps. The Left 4 Dead 2 maps are garbage. The best
Yes.
Left 4 Dead experience is the Left 4 Dead 1 maps with the Left 4 Dead 2 mechanics. Like, the Left 4 Dead 2 maps, it is so easy to get lost and to backtrack. And they're just terrible at funneling you where to go. Left 4 Dead is a game where it absolutely needs to be linear.
Yes.
And the original Left 4 Dead is great at that. And to be fair, Left 4 Dead 2 does have great levels in it. The bridge level, which is the final level of the game, is fantastic.
Yeah. I did like
you-
the carnival and the mall.
Yes, those two, although even the mall had like good moments in it, but there are points in the mall level where you could get turned around so easily, and then you're backtracking. But there are moments in the mall that are good.
I think the ending is probably the best bit, especially for the mall.
The scavenger mission.
Yep.
Yeah.
Where you're getting
So
all the. I'm trying to.
I'm pretty familiar with it because I played Left 4 Dead 2 probably like a couple of weeks ago. I took it back out again. Was playing it. First off, it's amazing. Left 4 Dead 2 is still like really popular. The co-op. I mean.
Yeah.
I use an Xbox One with Left 4 Dead 2, right? That's the last gen system, and you can go on an Xbox One and people will be on it. I own Left 4 Dead 2 on the PC, but it like barely runs, and my PC crashes every 5 minutes because it's.
My PC's struggling now. Let's move on. So, we got Battlefield 2042. So, there is a funny meme that happened on 4chan where the guy on a whim bought the Battlefield 2042.com domain, and he's like, for a while he linked the domain to poll on 4chan, but eventually he just sent it on to the Newt Newt meme, which is about this penguin that goes Newt Newt. That's on like some claymation show. I don't know. And so I am incredibly amused by that. Though quite frankly, the Battlefield series has gone quite woke. But it looks like they're kind of like pulling it back a bit because nobody liked Battlefield 5 in the same way that they liked all the other ones. And so they actually lost a bit of money on that. But that's kind of just The next one is something that might be interesting. House of Ashes, the Dark Pictures anthology. I have no idea what this is. Apparently it's in a series, and it follows a bunch of soldiers that that tumble into a Sumerian temple underground, and they're hunted by bats. I don't know anything about this series, but apparently it's a series.
House of Ashes. Let me look that up. I don't know anything about it. Never heard of it.
Bradford Walker says that the final key showcases are trash. Real Nounsy agrees. Apparently the Xbox show was decent, and Nintendo was alright as well.
Nintendo, yeah, it tends to be, they say, the least bad of the bunch. So I mentioned there are two games that I am looking forward to, and they're basically the only two games that I'm going to be looking forward to. And that's the two new Pokemon games that are going to be coming out in a few months. And, there's really nothing to say about them. You're either into Pokemon or you're not.
Yep.
Like, E3 has nothing to offer me in terms of what they could offer. Are they going to announce a new Sly Cooper game? No? Then, I'm checking out.
Yep. I'm trying to look at the Dark Pictures series, just because I haven't heard about them before. Like, and it's weird because it's like, yeah, this is great.
I'm doing the same thing. I just looked up House of Ashes.
Right. So it's like apparently they have two out now. Little Hope and Man of Medan. Five Friends holiday diving trip that soon changes into something more sinister, and it's a ghost trip.
I am suspicious. I'm suspicious because it says there's an interactive horror game. That smells to me like, Telltale, new Telltale style, shenanigans in terms of what that means to be interactive. Because if you're saying this specifically that you are interactive, all video games are interactive by definition.
So it's more of a. It's a bit different. Like the interactiveness is more like how do I want to put it? Like kind of quick time events. If it's anything like that one where they're stuck with all the Wendigos.
Yeah, That's what I was thinking, and that does not impress me at all.
I
Uh,
guess.
and as far as horror video games, the only one that I've played to completion is Bioshock. And people are going to, I'm sure that there are going to be people who are going to argue with me that's not really a horror game. I disagree. I think it is. Uh, because it's not as intense as System Shock 2. I tried playing System Shock 2. Sorry, fans. I thought System Shock 2 was terrible. I know that system, and everybody tries to go, oh, because you don't like older game mechanics. No, System Shock 2 was criticized when it came out for having borderline incomprehensible controls.
Yep. And
I
it
read the
was.
reviews at the time. This
Yeah.
is not this is not modern day retrospective. The controls of System Shock 2 are garbage. The story is good. Nothing else about it is good. I'm just gonna say it. I'm gonna be that guy. I know. It's a hot take.
So, yeah. Like, there are a couple horror games that there is a horror game I'm kind of interested in called Gloomwood, which is about a plague doctor wandering a city full of zombies or something like that. That might be okay or good or whatever. Civi 11 recommends it, and Civi 11 is a tier reviewer, a tier A plus. Which one is it?
I like that we could say this, and then we go. We of course have a list, so this is an official ranking.
We did it last week.
Then
We
say,
should have a list. Sorry, he's A plus, because he's probably the driving force in reviewers for the Doom clones. Um, let's
I
see
love
here.
that. We go. Civi is an A tier. Oh, I'm sorry. Official ranking A plus. Anyway.
Uh,
No, you're exact.
Bradford Walker says sequels, knockoffs are not games at all. Yeah, honestly, interactive storyboards is kind of just barely video games.
Nancy.
Hmm?
By the way, I just tried to pronounce your first name. Sorry about that. He says visual novels are the modern choose your own adventure books. Yes, they are. I'm okay with that as long as you advertise in advance that that's what you are, and I know what I'm getting into. Then I'm willing to give it a shot, like Steins Gate or whatever. It's when you're like the Walking Dead series, try to pretend that it was something not that, if that makes sense.
Yep.
With that said, Tales from the Borderlands is actually really, really good. At least I thought it was hilarious. It's not Superversive, just to bring that up. It's all terrible people doing terrible things, and there's, no real good guys in it or anything. But it's pretty funny, and the story is very entertaining. With that said, yeah, I do have a problem with what Telltale did. I'm not at all surprised that they went out of business. To be honest, I actually have a problem with point-and-click adventure games, even as a concept. And I am of the opinion that the only reason that any of them were any good at all was in spite of their concept, not because of it. It was because early adventure games happened to have good writing, but I am not convinced that any adventure game was ever the best way to tell, to do what they were doing, because the very concept of it just doesn't make any sense. But again, that's a pretty spicy take.
So, there are.
Yeah, but I was gonna say I'm not saying Monkey Island's bad. What I'm saying is it's good in spite of what it is.
It's all in the writing for those things. The writing was amazing.
Yeah.
So, mediocre or confusing gameplay. Like, people are like, yeah, but like this is a thing that you, and then you use the soap on a stick on a rope, and it's like, but no, like, I've played games where the logic actually makes sense, and I'm just stupid. This is moon logic, and it's bad. But
the flip side too is that you get like Grim Fandango and whatever, which I've tried to play. If you need a game and the game is actually really good, but also you're playing it with a guide, how much of a success is it? Like, apparently some of them are extraordinarily successful and they're considered cult classics, so what do I know? But I feel like if I'm playing it with a guide, why did you make it a point-and-click adventure game anyway?
So
what was the point of doing it like this?
So Rawl actually makes a pretty good point here, where he says, well, to summarize, he says they're of the time, like those were the best they could do for a lot of this stuff. Um, System Shock 2. Well, it's a primitive Bioshock. It's a type game which has been copied forever. Return to all the Monkey Island games, very primitive for what they are. Uh, the idea of a gaming PC just didn't exist
Well,
until
System
like
Shock and
post
System
Doom.
Shock 2, they're a little bit different. They came out in something right around like the golden age of video games, which was late '90s to early 2000s. The big crash, as Ryan Niemeyer has reported, hit video games like about I don't remember what time frame he gave, but a
To
few years later.
2007.
Yeah, about a decade later. Then the big crash happened to everywhere else. The cultural base ground zero. So
Mm-hmm.
the whole idea of like System Shock 2 came out in the golden age. I think it came out either right before or right after Half-Life, which supposedly holds up. It was updated with better graphics, but basically the same gameplay. So that should just kind of tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bradford Walker says I'm being monitored with my language, with my takes on what I'm seeing. Lots of people whose predecessors killed the pulps are at again with video games. Right, exactly. That's what I'm trying to get at here. It happens about a decade later, and we're seeing almost exactly the same thing happen. The state of the video games industry is in the same weird state as the books industry, where on one hand, all of the major video game publishers, or at least most of them, with the arguable exception of Nintendo, which is foreign, much like the arguable exception of anime, which is foreign, are terrible and coming out with terrible games and just, offering you nothing new and regurgitating old stuff, and they're bad for the consumer. But the flip side is there are probably more good games out there for you to find than ever before if you just look for them. And once again, we have a platform that we need to use that we need to look at as a necessary evil that is allowing all of this to happen. In this case, in the books industry, the platform's Amazon, and in the video game industry, that platform's Steam. You could say what you want about Steam. You could be unhappy about the fact that Steam has all of these licenses, that they can shut you down, that they could take your games away, that they could do this and do that. But the fact of the matter is, they're giving a platform to video games that simply would not have had them otherwise. And they're giving you the option to play these games that you otherwise wouldn't be able to play. The last AAA game I played with a lot of like real nav was look at Sucker Punch's most recent game, Ghost of Tsushima. It's supposed to be really good, but it also looks like every other game that's been made within the past, 20 years or so. There's nothing about it that looks interesting or unique. You will find interesting and unique looking games, but you'll find them among the indie games of Steam. Just like you will find the books that you want to read and the stories that you want to read, but you're going to find them among the independent publishers, and you're going to need to figure out some way of picking through the dross to do it. So it's in a very weird position at the moment.
Yep.
Bradford Walker's Capital. Yes. Yes, definitely. I watched Matthew Matotis do his review of The Last of Us 2, and his reviews are always fantastic, and his review of The Last of Us 2 is fantastic. And his biggest issue with The Last of Us 2 was basically, he said that Naughty Dog's always had this thing where it made their games very cinematic, and The Last of Us 2 kind of turned this up to 11, to the point where it was like, why is this even a game?
Yep.
Why did you even make this a video game? Which is sort of my issue with the original Last of Us. I think the original Last of Us is a good game, to be clear. I'm not going to argue that it's not. I think it is quite a good game. And I think, for that matter, that the story of The Last of Us is quite good. I think there is a little bit of synchronicity with the story and gameplay. Like, there are times that you can play as Ellie, and when you play as Ellie, the gameplay changes slightly, and the way that they separate you and Joel adds to the story a little bit, but having played the game in full, I can definitely say that if The Last of Us' story were released separately as a movie, you would lose almost nothing in terms of story quality. It could just be a movie. There's no reason for it to exist as a game. Whereas other great story games, Portal, uh, Sly Cooper, Mark of the Ninja, even Bioshock to a lesser extent, even though it's heavily flawed, but System Shock 2, all of these great stories in games are great stories that are only great because they are video games. If you take out the context of the video game, you would need to change something at the very least significant about the story in order to make it work in different medium. That's what's missing you know, in The Last of Us, and The Last of Us 2 even more than the original Last of Us. But with that said, I am not going to argue that The Last of Us is not a good game. The Last of Us is a very good game. I recommend it if you want to, if you have that system. Though I certainly don't recommend that you buy the system just to play the game. But if you have a system that can play The Last of Us, then I recommend it. Uh, but there's definitely like a loss of personality there, really. It's like the original Bioshock plays with the idea that you need to listen to this disembodied narrator that's telling you what to do, that makes that aspect of it a major part of the story in a really ingenious way, in a twist that everybody remembers. It's a story that really only works the way that it does because you can play it as a video game. System Shock 2, similar. It's a similar idea, but with Shodan, because Bioshock was really just a remake of System Shock 2. In the Sly Cooper series, it's all over the map how it makes use of the fact that it's a video game and that you're playing it to get across certain story ideas, that you need to go back to a level in Sly 1 and Sly 3, that the twist in the second game is predicated on the fact that you're expecting the game to follow a specific structure that the game put up in Sly 1. The original Portal is absolutely brilliant about this, to the point where it's a dead simple story that is insanely genius when you first play it, because it is playing you like a fiddle in terms of how it makes use of the mechanics of video games and the conventions of video games to mess with your expectations. You start off playing a puzzle game with a narrator, and puzzle games don't have, at the time Portal was made, it's changed since then because of Portal, but at the time Portal was made, puzzle games don't have boss battles, and narrators aren't bosses, they're narrators. And Gladys, it's uneven clear early on if Gladys is watching you live or if Gladys is a pre-recorded voice. And the whole thing, you can learn more lore about it regarding exploration and things like that. The whole structure is specifically structured to be a video game, which is why the idea of making a Portal movie, as they were discussing, to be directed by everybody's favorite whipping boy, J.J. Abrams, is just one of the stupidest things I've ever heard in my life. I literally, if you were to ask me the game that would least make sense as a movie, it would probably be Portal. I mean, not counting games with no story at all, like Tetris. But Hades is another contribution to its story, or a roguelite. Of being a roguelite game contributes to its story, in that you're supposed to feel the futility of trying to escape over and over and over, have that sink in, get that, make that a part of it, and then you're supposed to actually build relationships with the different gods. I mean, you could try and replicate this to an extent with a TV show, but you just have to change the significant elements of it. Because it is a video, has a character twist later in the game because of the conventions of how video games work. So that's my big rant. I think that's the big problem with AAA gaming today, is that AAA games are really just, they're all the same, and they don't really game. They want to tell the story, and they think you get to tell these great stories in the medium of video games, but they're not doing it using the medium of video games to tell the story, except in very basic ways. Like in The Last of Us does like the bare minimum here, but even then, if you separated the story from the game, you're really not going to be losing much with the story. That's my rant. You have anything, Ben?
Uh, I don't know. I lost track of things. Let's see what people are saying. No. Well, the thing is that you cut in and out, and then you just unload everything. I just kind of have to wait till you're done. So,
Amazing.
no, it was a good rant. It was fantastic. You're absolutely right. But it's I don't know. Like, I I just needed to let you rant. How about that? Raul Nyanzi says, I generally prefer Nintendo because you don't see brown and gray aesthetic there all day, every day. Yeah, color's a big thing for those guys. It's just, why make something drab? That's why I'm very careful to describe colors in Biggerton's Ghosts and my stories in general. I want you to know how things look like. And guess what? The true color of Cyberpunk is not the grime in the streets, it's the purple neon signs and the blue sky on a clear day. Let's see here. AAA games want to be films. They're agreeing with you. So there's also a bunch of Chernobyl wannabes. Stalker 2, which might be the only good one. Maybe. Chernobylite and Pioneer. And I just don't care about any of that stuff. I can barely stand playing any of the Metro games. And I'll probably try again in a bit. But honestly, like the zeitgeist for that was a year or two ago, not now. Like nobody cares anymore. Metro series is over, as far as I know. All these different things are over, and it's just no, I'm good. Apparently, George R.R. Martin wrote some notes on a greased-up napkin and a Red Robin, and passed it to From Software so that they could make Elden Ring. Supposedly based on something with him, in a dark fantasy collab. Apparently they had some Praise the Sun meme. Russians seem to be stuck on Stalker. Well, a lot of people like things that are true to life, and if there is anything that's true to the Russian experience, it's Stalker. Running around in a radiated Soviet-era wasteland, hoping that the thugs don't kill you today while you pump yourself full of drugs some dude made in a vat in a basement that has mutants running around everywhere. It is the Russian experience. As far as I can tell, CD Projekt Red has really fallen off. Yeah, they did. Cyberpunk 2077 was stillborn in the womb, and they refused to do anything about it, or when they did, they didn't really do much with it. And that's all there is to that one. Like it's not like I wish I could say something complicated. No, they just had a lot of dreams and then they didn't fulfill them. Endless Dungeon has another thing going. I just don't care about that or that series. Evil Dead, there's an Evil Dead movie. So Far Cry 6 has probably the most explosive trailer I saw for E3, and it looked so boring. Like, holy cow. CP 2077 was a wake-up call for CDPR fans. Yeah, I didn't play through The Witcher. I got bored with it. The Witcher is glitchy as all hell. It is not nearly as deep as everyone says. There are bits of good writing in there, but that could just be because they're working on something that might be a Polish national treasure. Who knows? There's not a lot of good stuff with that, unfortunately. I wish I could say better things for it, because I wanted Cyberpunk 2077 to succeed. I did. I love sci-fi games. I love the Deus Ex Human Revolution games, and I love those games better than the original Deus Ex, which was pretty good for what it was, and it was actually very good. But it wasn't. I didn't enjoy it when I played it.
The
Um,
original Deus Ex is another one of those classic games I tried to play, and I thought this is borderline incomprehensible to me.
yep,
That one I'm more willing to accept is more of a me thing than System Shock 2.
yep,
System Shock 2, I'm going to argue, was actually just not well designed as a game because I read reviews of it at the time it came out. And
yes.
that was an early criticism from the beginning.
So
It's
they,
but that was not a criticism of Deus Ex, which means that it's probably just more not my type of game.
yeah, Deus Ex's control scheme is actually not his problem. I just kind of got bored. I've tried to play it several times. Um, Evil Dead is Ash does Left 4 Dead. I just. Oh, yeah, no, it is a cooperative zombie slayer. I'm sorry. We've got left 3 deads so far. Let's see if we can get up to 4 Left 4 Dead 4 clones. 4. Um,
I mean,
because
Back 4 Blood looked pretty good the last I saw of it. Let me look that
it's
up
by
and
the
see what
original team.
they have about it. Yeah, that's why it's an encouraging idea.
While you're looking that up, I'm going to talk about the Far Cry trailer. So I did watch the Far
Go
Cry
ahead.
trailer because their trailers are usually pretty good. Um, they do what it is. So the last 3 villains have been some crazy dude on an island who talked about philosophy while he buried you head in the sand or whatever. Then there was a Nepalese dictator who took over the country, had this flamboyant personality. Then you get a cult preacher, who people want to say it's an attack on Christianity, and it is. But because I'm deep in the Protestant lore, I've seen a dime a dozen of him, and it literally did not make me pause at all. I'm like, yeah, that happens all the time. Like Catholics have it too, but it's a different issue for them because they have a rigid hierarchy. It's harder for a cult of personality to properly develop. They do happen. France has had one. Most popes have them, but it's not the same. It's not the same personal touches with a Protestant preacher. So him having a compound, having all these things going, cult of personality. His family members have all the power. There's all kinds of weird stuff. I've seen it before, or heard of it rather. It's got precedent. This stuff popped up all over the 70s and 60s, 70s, and so on and so forth. And Raul Lianzi says the preacher in Far Cry 5 was right. Yeah, it depends on what route you choose, but in story he is right. Then the nuclear wasteland starts or something like that. I can't remember, but in this case, it's a Hispanic dictatorship, which is boring. Just Cause 3 has done like 2 of them. Movie style, no gameplay. Yeah, that's not a good sign. I'm just so and it's for October 7th. So many of these games are releasing in October. It's so stupid. Um,
Yeah, even Back 4 Blood was going to be released on June 22nd, and it was delayed to October. Here's the good news. It's coming out for the Xbox One still, which
Nice.
I'm happy about because I am not purchasing a new system to play it, but I do want to play it.
So with the Far Cry 6 thing, is that you've clearly got a daughter rebelling against her father, who's the ruler of the country. The problem with that is that there's not a lot you can go with that doesn't sound bad. Like, I could just break it, but I'm sure the plot's more complex because they do occasionally have a writer who has an ounce of news in them, barely an ounce. And it's like, yeah, sure, they could do something interesting with that once, but they usually put in a twist or something like that. That's what ruined the story for number 3. There's all these different things going on. We can already tell who the lieutenants are, and it's just like, what in the world are we looking at? Look at the explosions. Look at these interesting characters. So what? Why should we care about some people they won't really do anything with? They brought out the actor who playing the villain. The maturity of motion capture makes this hellmouth appropriation so common now. I don't really know what you mean about I know what you mean. Like, I could tell this was an actor, and actually, he looked pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm not quite sure what you mean about the motion capture technology and the Hellmouth. Like, it's Foo Bear says Catholics have it, but only the Pope. I disagree with that. There have been cardinals and priests in the past who have had massive cults of
No,
personality.
Father Karapi had a big one, and then he got, I don't know if you remembered him, but I do. He was a guy who, like, converted to Catholicism after being, he did drugs for years, and he ended up gaining this big cult of personality, going around giving speeches and whatever, and then he was caught, like, I forget exactly what it was, embezzling money or something. So yes, it does happen to Catholics.
There, it happened a lot more in medieval times, but also, though, like, we know of them
Yeah,
because they,
Tetzel.
yep, they were documented more by the Protestants because, hey, build up to the Reformation, you got to list your grievances. A lot of people think it's like the American Civil War, which is basically inevitable at this point, is going to be a snap. It's going to look like a snap in 120 years, but we're talking about it now, unironically. Like, it's going to be a slow build up that will be clearly documented and avoidable, but they won't. Bradford Walker says the reason we see so many AAA games that feel like Hollywood films is the technology now exists to recreate Hollywood style production video games. Motion capture enables it. Oh, yes, you're absolutely right with that. So, you know what's funny? One of the motion capture pioneers was Ruby. I'm not
really?
even joking. Yeah, basically that's what Monty Ohm did to get a lot of the realistic motions going. Did it look terrible? Yes, but Ruby's art has never been the top tier. Its top tier has been character designs and fight scenes, and both of those have gone out.
Do you want to know something?
Yeah.
I haven't watched footage yet, and I'm pulling that up now, but everything that I've seen of Back 4 Blood makes it look really good.
Oh, cool. I might if you get it, I might get it too, depending on what my situation is. Apparently, Kojima's is hinting at a next game, and apparently he's also announced a Death Stranding Director's Edition, and it's like, who cares? Like, Death Stranding is a pretty decent game. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it quite a bit, but
Matthew Matosas gave it an okay review, I believe.
Yeah.
Basically, he said, like, it was unique. I'll give it that.
Yep. It tickled a part of me. Like, some people won't enjoy it. I'm gonna say it's a very taste-based popularity game, but just like saying, "Oh, screw it, it's Kojima" or something like that. Jurassic World Evolution 2. Apparently, it's a park simulator with dinosaurs. I've seen like people play it, and it's just not quite there.
Okay. So I'm currently watching the trailer on silent, with the volume off.
Thank you.
But I want to see it's showing the, it's showing a cutscene at the beginning, but I want to see if it gets to actual gameplay. I want to know what that looks like.
I gotcha.
Okay.
So
I'll tell you what it looks like from the very brief bit that they showed, and they only showed like 1 second of it. Yeah, it looks like Left 4 Dead 2 with better graphics. And you know what? That is basically all that I want. So, I don't care. Rawl says, why the hell doesn't Kojima make this movie? Great question. Maybe he likes gameplay.
So the thing with Kojima is, I'm gonna we're friends, we're bros, Bradford, but I kind of disagree with you on that. Kojima is probably one of, and this is gonna sound weird, his writing is absolute garbage. He needs somebody to take care of his writing for him. All right, he has so much fat that can be cut out of Death Stranding. It's insane. with the language and how things talk. Is it acted well? Absolutely. Mad Mikkelsen steals every scene he's in. Guillermo del Toro is pretty good. Dead Man's pretty good. You know, Maz is super weird, but whatever. Even before all the weird stuff with her plot. But the thing is that if we're looking at villainy, like Kojima would die on the hill of I need to make video games. Activision, Bethesda, and a whole host of other companies, EA, would, if they found a more profitable way of doing things, would not do them. I'm not of the I don't want to say like history will vindicate Kojima because that's nonsense, and I can't even say it with a straight face. I'm smiling too much, but like compared to Activision, compared to EA, compared to Blizzard, compared to all these other places, Kojima's a saint. And that speaks to the lowness of the comparisons that he's facing. Todd Howard lies all the time. Kojima hypes things up and it's weird, but I'm going to say that he delivers on his promises enough that God won't send him to hell for lying. He'll send him to hell for other things, but not for lying.
He'll send him to hell for rejecting the one true God.
Oh.
But not for lying.
Yeah, pretty much. You know, like it's just one of those things where I give Kojima a little slack. He makes video games. They're weird. They're not for everyone. Todd Howard makes video games. They come out a buggy mess. I think I was commenting to Anthony, and I don't know if it got on the stream, where I have not actually beaten Skyrim because something glitches every time, or, you know, I just get distracted. But, you know, I experience a lot of glitches on my Skyrim playthroughs, and it locks me out of progression. Like, I can't even beat Todd Howard's games. He lies, he steals, he does all these things with these people, and, you know, it doesn't compare.
Skyrim because there's so much boring parts to Skyrim.
Yep.
There's so much running and running and running between large areas where you're doing absolutely nothing.
You're supposed to enjoy the ambience.
It was Matthew Matosis who said it. Yeah, right. It was Matthew Matosis who said it best about Breath of the Wild. Which, if you watch it, did you watch his Breath of the Wild?
I did. It was pretty good.
Yeah, he gave it a sterling review. Like, he was clearly a very big fan of the game. But he said at one point in the review, he goes, the secret to Breath of the Wild is that you don't like Breath of the Wild because it allows you to glide anywhere or climb anything. You like Breath of the Wild in spite of that. And, yeah, he's not wrong.
Right. It's...
He said you think that's what you want until you play it, and you're wrong. That is not what you want. You want a game that knows what it is and why it exists.
Yep.
And Breath of the Wild, to be fair to it, and Matthew Matosis would say this, it does know why it exists, and it does know, you know, like, it does know what the people came there for, and it is a very good game, according to him. I only played literally probably like 10 minutes of it, so I'm only going off of other reviews. But supposedly Breath of the Wild is a very good game. And I could absolutely believe that. You know, I'm not saying it isn't. But that's my issue with open worlds, really. I mean, I'm playing a video game. I'm not playing, like, I'm playing a game. You know, I want there to be something that's specific for me to do and that is, you know, that's fun, that I came here for. I don't want to have to search for it. Like, that's not why that's not why I stuck in a video game. And that's not why people play Zelda, too, for that matter. Zelda has this sense, the original Zelda, he was trying to point out that Breath of the Wild was actually a throwback to the original Zelda. And it was the first Zelda game since the very original Legend of Zelda game that brought back that sense of exploration. And Rawls actually said that in the comments. There you go. I didn't even read it when he said that, so perfect. He's absolutely correct. He was trying to recreate the experience of the very first Zelda game. So, that's great and all, but even then, in the very first Zelda game, it's like, you know, you need to make sure these base limitations of the original Zelda game meant that there was only so much stuff you could do that was separate from the main story, and then you needed to make sure that, and it was easier to make sure that every branch always had something happening that was entertaining or that added to the experience in some way. Just having a big blank area where, the travel time in between, making that interesting is so difficult, and I don't think Skyrim did that. The travel time in between areas of Skyrim is just me walking for really long periods until I find one of the interesting things that I can do in the game. Uh, and I could say this about Skyrim because even though I haven't beaten it, I have played several hours of it. Now, as far as Breath of the Wild goes, the most I could say is from his review, it succeeds because all of the gameplay elements in the game tended to work very well. But having a big open world in and of itself wasn't an automatically good thing, which is what games treat it as nowadays. Now, Pokemon is going to be moving to like a pseudo-open world thing soon with Legends Arceus, but the thing is, I actually think this is a fantastic fit for Pokemon, because so much of the appeal of Pokemon is exploring and finding new Pokemon. And to be able to explore a region and see Pokemon out in the wild is itself gameplay that people are going to be interested in seeing. So if they do a good job with making the Pokemon act like Pokemon and, making the exploration of the area interesting, I think that that's a perfect fit for it. But that's a specialized case. I think it's a good fit for Pokemon. I don't think it's automatically a good fit to make these big open worlds. Ghost of Tsushima had to overcome this, according to reviews, again, because I haven't played it. But Ghost of Tsushima had to overcome this by having, like, the wind guide you through different areas, which is really weird to me, and also doesn't seem to make a ton of sense. Like, if you have a big open world and you have arrows guiding you, and then you have the flip side of a place like Rapture. I saw people criticize the big arrow in the original Bioshock that tells you where to go next, that ruins your sense of exploration. I actually disagree with this. I think that the arrow is a good thing in the original Bioshock because it means that the original Bioshock knew where it wanted you to go and what it wanted you to do, and it had an idea of where the story was supposed to be heading. You didn't need to follow the arrow. You could go into other rooms and pick up recordings. But the fact of the matter is that there was a game behind it that you were supposed to be taking part in, which is why I think Bioshock mostly worked. Not that Bioshock is by any means the perfect game, but I don't think that's one of its issues. And that's just kind of the problem, I think, with a lot of modern-day game design and why a lot of indie developers working on smaller budgets are able to do better things. Ron Nancy says technological limitations influence the very structure of 1990s era games. Furthermore, because it was inconvenient to release patches, games had to be complete upon release. No using customers as unpaid beta testers. Yeah, that's one of the dark sides of Steam system. And occasionally, sometimes people will use it and they'll use Steam's alpha system and get people to pay, but they'll use it responsibly and they'll actually improve the game. Like Hades, for example, did this.
Yep.
But sometimes you'll just get gypped out of a game and they'll release a game in alpha and then they'll never really fully upgrade it, and you just paid full money for a quarter finished game and you're a sucker. It's the dark side of it. It's the problem with Kickstarter games and why they're always very dangerous. Sometimes you get FTL, and then sometimes you get, what was that game that they used to make for a decade and they never did, Star Citizen or something?
Yeah. Technically, so to be fair to Star Citizen, there are playable demos, and it does have a player base, but it is not in a good position, especially compared to what they promised. And I actually paid into it way back when, but that was back when the promises was fresh.
Yeah, Kickstarter is a big double-edged sword.
Yep.
Because you're taking a big risk paying into a Kickstarter game. I mean, game that's unfinished that you're paying for, right?
Yep.
I mean, think about it. You know,
There's a
and
yeah.
sometimes it hits. Sometimes it hits really big. FTL is one of those times. In fact, the FTL team is like super great with their customers. I remember when they upgraded to FTL Advanced Edition, they allowed all of the players who already owned FTL to get the Advanced Edition update for free. They did not have to do that. They easily could have charged $5 to $10 for DLC, but they didn't.
Yep.
Even just $3 to $5 for DLC, and I would have paid for it. I 100% would have paid $5 for FTL DLC, but they didn't do it. They gave it to their players for free, which is honestly like really good business practice. So sometimes you do, honest players. Then sometimes you get Frostbite games who make the Trine series, which is one of my favorite series. They came out with Trine 3, and they never fully completed it, and then charged full price for it, and made all of their fans mad.
Yep.
And they only managed to salvage the series when they made Trine 4 back in the original 2.5D style instead of 3D style they tried to use for Trine 3. And Trine 4 was basically just more Trine 2, except that it was actually fantastic. So, but the only way they could get their players back was by going to a style of game that they knew how to make, and making making a game that was not really experimental at all. Because as soon as they tried to experiment, they realized that they didn't have the manpower for it.
Yeah, like there was a Kickstarter game. I kind of wish I backed a bit more. The Homestuck game, but what they experienced was basically their so Homestuck is one guy, and then a whole bunch of helpers in various times and various places. And he is an internet meme lord of a sort, Andrew Hussey, who I respect deeply and hate immensely. He's
Why is he? Is he a left? Is he like a big leftist type guy?
Yeah, but also like there's a certain sense of irony. If there was ever a man who was a master of irony, it was him. And like the thing is that I still haven't escaped like Homestuck ideas that just get stuck in my head, especially around horror and a few other things like that. But basically, Kickstarter, right? The guy genuinely sets out to do it. Well, the people he paid to make the game used the money to build a different game and cheated him, basically. And there's a whole bunch of lawsuits and stuff about that. That's not really his fault for that delay, but that's how it is. I know that for the Bendy and the Ink Machine people, Rooster Teeth basically took a whole bunch of their money and ran with it when they closed down Rooster Teeth games or stopped supporting stuff with it. So it's like a lot of the time, you just want to publish it on your own. Unless you got ironclad contracts that personally bind the employees to finish it, but they wouldn't agree to that either.
The Bendy games are considered pretty good, right?
Yeah, they're pretty. I haven't played them. They're supposed to be pretty good though.
But they have a good reputation.
Yes. Or they did. There's a whole bunch of different stuff with it that's happening right now. I just watched a video on it, and it was kind of boring, but I got the idea.
And Matt's done like 2 or 3 Bendy here.
Yep. Some more games coming out in E3. Apparently, something called Coke Media, Prime Matter, which I don't even like.
Yeah.
What? Like Koch Brother Media or something? Can you hear me?
I've never heard of it.
That's fine. It's one of those giant media conglomerations. They have a Prime Matter quote unquote premium gaming label, but they've signed up for a Painkiller game, Payday 3. Payday is actually a fun series, but it's kind of janky. King's Bounty 2, Mountain Blade 2, Bannerlords, Kingdom Come, Deliverance, Crossfire, Legion, Scars Above, Codename A Final Form, Gungrave, Gore, Gore, Dolmen, The Last Oak, Ori Crew, Echoes of the End, The Chant, and Encased. I have no idea what any of that is. There's a Lego Builder's Journey, don't know that, which is a GeForce, looks like it's a GeForce Tech demo, basically. There's something called Loot River, which is like a Tetris thing where you're moving things around and getting combos and stuff with it for loot. It looks pretty interesting. Korean game coming
I
there, a
mean,
Mega Slug.
there are tons and tons of good indie games coming out all the time. And normally I don't even know about them until I like see something pop up on Steam and go, that looks super cool.
Yep.
Yeah. And then it, like 8 or 9 times out of 10 is generally pretty good.
I guess.
I'm looking up. In fact, I'm looking up Loot River right now.
Yeah, it looks pretty
Because
good.
as soon as I looked it up, it says this game may contain content not appropriate for all ages. I am intrigued.
There's another Monster Hunter game called Monster Hunter Stories Wings of Ruin. I've tried those games, didn't really enjoy them.
Blah, blah.
Rainbow Six Extraction, Riders Republic, which is apparently
it's a roguelike.
an MMO.
Okay.
But
Loot River is a roguelike. That's interesting.
yeah, look, it might be pretty good.
The ground. Yeah, it does look interesting. I'm gonna add this to my wish list. See, when it goes on sale.
There's I might do that too. Salt and Sacrifice, which is a Metroidvania. Apparently, there's a Rocksmith rhythm game with a real bass guitar or something as a subscription service. That sounds weird.
Bass guitar.
Yep. Something called Sifu, which is Kung Fu Brawler.
So, just so you know, my wish list is like 90 games long, and the reason is that I keep it on there for if a game like goes on sale for like 90 cents or something. Then
Yep.
then if it's on my wish list, I get an alert. So it is not because I'm actually particularly interested in any of these games. It's more like these are all games that if they go on sale for really cheap, then I would get it. Which is one of the great benefits of Steam, by the way.
Yep. Complain all we want about it. Steam is the place to be for this stuff. Solar
it's like
Ash.
Amazon, honestly.
Yep.
You could have, it really is. Like, it's a great comparison in a lot of ways. There are very real problems with it, and we can and should be bothered by how much of a stranglehold it has on the industry, and the fact that if they decide to take away all of your games because of wrong things, they can. But the flip side is they've probably been better for the games industry than anything else in the past, 20 years?
Yeah,
by
basically.
allowing small indie gamers who otherwise never would have found an audience, a way to get their games out to people. Same with Amazon. You could have all the issues with Amazon that you want, but the fact of the matter is that whatever you think of Amazon, like without them, there would basically be no self-published writing industry. There would be no NewPub. Amazon is the reason that NewPub is able to exist.
TJ Marquis tells us that Salt and Sanctuary was great, which
I
is
wonder if
pretty nice.
I might have that on my wish list. Let me see. Salt and Sanctuary. Not that I could see. I just got Slay the Spire, the Switch, which is a really fun game. Though I could see, you mentioned that it got old pretty quickly for you, which I could sort of see. One game that I'm actually really, really looking forward to is the System Shock update. I don't know if you know about that, but a company called Night Dive Studios, that's made up of a lot of the developers, I believe, the original System Shock, are making like an enhanced update. And honestly, the screenshots of it look really good. And the original System Shock is so old that I hate to say this, and again, it's probably more of a me thing than anyone else, but I find the original System Shock unplayable. not in a technical sense. You could run that game on a toaster, but
Yep.
you could probably run that game by with a hamster powering your screen. But I find it unplayable in the sense that like you could barely tell what's going on. It's so blocky.
Yeah.
To the point where I genuinely wonder, it got good reviews, and I genuinely wonder how people even played the original game. I don't understand how people were able to like navigate the space. However, I will admit that this new upgraded, you know, update of the game does look like it has potential. Also, pretty decent deal. It's $45, which for if it's really going to be the length of a big budget game, that's not too bad. And you get and you will receive System Shock 2 Enhanced Edition for free if you pay for it. So, all in all pretty good deals. Now, System Shock 2, you could download mods nowadays that make System Shock 2 look pretty good. When I say pretty good, I mean probably roughly about the level of like Half-Life 2, which I think looks fine. I mean, I don't have any issue with it visually. That's not the issue with System Shock 2. The issue with System Shock 2 is that the gameplay is really Byzantine.
Yeah. It appeals to a certain demographic that loves that stuff. And
I
it's
can
just
definitely
not.
see the appeal to an extent, but I got bored with it very quickly.
There's a new Tales game. I'm surprised they're still going
Wait,
on, but
there is?
they're, yeah, Tales
I
of
thought
Arise.
Telltale Games went under.
No, Tales of game.
Oh,
Right,
okay.
Japanese
Never.
Eastern RPG. Very kind of generic. It usually like Final Fantasy has the benefit of the best character designer of all time. Who? Oh no, I'm forgetting the name. I'm blanking on the name. Hold on a
I'm going
second.
to Google Final Fantasy character designer.
Basically, he does all the art for it, and I actually will spend time, okay, going to a Final Fantasy game and just downloading all his stuff. Like Final Fantasy,
Toshiyuki Idahana?
maybe. No, the artist though. So here's the thing: some dude who's in charge of it will just never really be as good as it. Tales of Symphonia was pretty decent, but the thing is that
Tetsuya Nomura?
maybe no, it's the artist. Um, Yoji
Final Fantasy
artist. He's
artist.
very famous, and I wish my computer wasn't so slow. The second I'm done here, I'm gonna put it through the ringer.
Yoshitaka Amano?
There we go, Amano. His character designs are absolutely fantastic.
They are. That's true.
It is a work of art. Almost everything could be a poster by itself. I've
never really played the Final Fantasy series, honestly. I mean, I think I tried playing 7 once, and just got bored with it quick.
Yep.
Which is a me problem because I know that 7, I know roughly the story of 7. I know that it's supposed to start kind of slow because then they destroy that whole first area of the game. And maybe if I'd stuck with it, I would have enjoyed it more. But I didn't have the patience for it. The best Final Fantasy I know, generally people will say either 4 or 7. So maybe I'll try 4. I don't know if I'll like that anymore,
Fair.
though.
Final Fantasy V is a non-entity for me. But the Exdeath design in his suit of armor is absolutely fantastic. He looks like an Eastern warlord. I'm actually going to pull up one of these things. Just because it just looks so good. Amazingly good. Let's see here. Symphonia, Must Virgin. Yeah, Symphonia is just kind of it's one of those things that feels good when you're in high school, But the second you actually start thinking about it, it feels so generic that you just can't stand it. And you just kind of have to. You're in the wrong folder. You just kind of have to let it, like, just. It's so forgetful. I don't even remember the plot except church bad. Um, to and like an angel tries to take over things, and like I looked on the TV tropes, and it's like click here to see what Yggdrasil looks like. Massive spoilers, and it's like it doesn't look like it. Just looks like some dude with like wings. How is this massive spoilers? What's wrong with you? Like, why is this spoilers? Oh, here it is. Let's do this one. Like, look at this character design. How it just exudes character. Like, sure, it's like a tin pot tyrant sort of deal, but it just looks so good. Raul Neonzi says, high school, that's precisely when I started playing it. Yep. Also, I really hated its character. Not hated, but its character designs feel weird. It just doesn't. It's one of those things that the more I think about it, the less I like it. Which is never something you want a game to be. I've got a hill, so I'm putting all my siege weapons on top. Because. But yeah. Anyway, so yeah, new Tales game. Apparently, they've gotten, thankfully anyway, less important than they have been in the past. So I'm pretty happy with that. Just because I don't like bad things to get popular. Um, anyway, moving on to some other games. There's something called 2 Point Canvas, which is a college management sim. Looks boring. Borderlands
Yeah, that
spinoff.
sounds terrible.
Like, I don't get it. Like, I one time got into
I
an
never
argument.
liked any of the Borderlands
They're so
games, and I always
bad.
wanted to. I always wanted to. I got Borderlands the free sequel because it was literally like $5 at Walmart, you
Yep.
know, and less than that because I had a discount, and like, so I played the free sequel and I never finished it because it was boring. Borderlands 2 I found boring. I had a friend that loved it.
Yep.
I will say that Tales from the Borderlands, the Telltale game, was actually shockingly good. Like, it was actually a really, really entertaining story, and I recommend it. But that's about all I have to say about Borderlands. It just wasn't fun. Like, I don't know what to say about it. I wish it was. I like how it looks. How about that? I like the visual style. I'm a sucker for that cel-shaded thing. That's why I like. That's one of the reasons I like the Sly Cooper series.
That's the
So it
biggest thing it
looks
has
good.
going for it.
Yeah. See you later. See you later, Rolf.
Have a good one.
If you enjoy the talk so far, you can listen to the end of it later. It's going to be kept uploaded on YouTube for a while. Let's see. I'm looking through my wish list on Steam and just remembering, like, and thinking to myself, why did I put this on my wish list? I have, let's see, a game called Marty Thinks 4D. I do have Chrono Trigger on there. There's a great question as to why did I put that on my wish list when you could download it for free and play it really easily. So I should probably just download it and take that off.
Figure. There's a few little BS things. Vampire the Masquerade Blood Hunt, which is probably going to be terrible. Vampire the Masquerade is doing what the Warhammer 40k do, and just licensing every video game they can get their hands on, and it is not working out for them. Another Watch Dogs thing.
I now have Loot River on the list, and
Ooh.
Loot River looks like it's going to be really good, honestly.
I need to add it to my list. I'm going to add it to my
Power
list.
that. I do have Root, which is a board game that they created for, you know, that they made capable of playing on Steam. And I got it because A.M. Freeman recommended it to me. So I said I'll keep it on there, and when it goes on sale, we could all play it together.
Ooh.
So put Root on your list. So I'll tell you that now. put Root on your wish list. A game
Spell
of
it.
Woodland Might and Right. Then we could stream it.
Root.
Uh, yep. It's $15, but I'm gonna wait for it to go on sale. When it goes on a sale, if we all get it, then we could all play it and stream it.
Sure. Looks kind of interesting.
It does. It doesn't look bad at all. She recommended it, so yeah.
Wish list
I have
wise, what was that?
Rogue Legacy I have on my wish list. For some reason, I have the Crisis games. I don't know why. I don't play
Gross.
games like that.
For me, the ones I want. So okay, we'll talk about this for a bit. Atomic
Wait,
Heart.
wow. Oh yeah, that was the one good game from E3, right?
The Russian life simulator. I love making that joke for all the horror games set in Russia. And I don't mean horrible like
Okay,
they're
so-
bad games. Just horrible games.
That it's horror. Yeah. But okay, so you showed me that game, the trailer to that game, and
Yep.
you said like, "Come on, doesn't it look amazing?" And here's what I'll say about it: it looks weird, but the gameplay looks like BioShock. It looks
Yes.
exactly like BioShock. Nothing about that gameplay looks interesting or new. Like, you're shooting lasers and things out of your hands, shooting guns. It's BioShock. With that said, I will admit that it certainly looked weird. They did not show any Final Fantasy 16 stuff. How do you screw that up? That
I
should tell
know.
you that you need to be worried about Final Fantasy 16. You definitely should be worried since Final Fantasy 15 from every... Now, I will say that this is going from every single person I know who I trust at all to be a reviewer has said that it's garbage. And,
Yep.
I believe so. I will say it's not personal experience, but multiple reviewers who I trust said that it's terrible. So you should be worried about Final Fantasy 16. It's not going to be good. And really, the Final Fantasy is just another franchise that you should probably just give up on. It had its day in the sun and it's over.
Yep. Honestly, I've been doing the whole. I think I might have killed one of my best lords here by accident. Oh no, he lived. Okay, good. Like not Bradford, but Brian Niemeyer and Dornall have been doing a lot of Final Fantasy IV, I think, though Final Fantasy II by release in the US, and apparently they've been enjoying it. I don't really know anything about it. Honestly, it's just kind of, you just kind of show up on Geek Gab to and my boy's back in the game. To hang out with the Superversives and stuff like that. Very.
Maybe I'll try Final, since I wasn't that into Final Fantasy VII, which again, to be fair, is probably, I will freely admit, it's more of a me thing. Yeah, but since I wasn't that into Final Fantasy VII, maybe I'll go back and try Final Fantasy IV, since that's supposed to be the other game that's like, one of the greatest games ever made type thing.
Yeah, boy.
So,
Greatest games ever made.
Maybe it's good. Wouldn't that be a hot take? Final Fantasy IV, it's pretty good.
Final Fantasy IV is pretty good. I played through it. Like it's not as dynamic as a lot of people might want, but it is pretty decent at what it's trying to do for a lot of things. Hello, guys. But it's
So the game that I want most currently currently on my wish list, though that could change at any time depending on my mood, is Pyre, which is one of the super giant games. You know, that's the Hades and Bastion and Transistor team.
Yep.
Empire looks like it's pretty fun.
There's another
Uh,
simulator game
Final
about
Fantasy
pirates.
4. What was that?
Oh, no, it's a joke. I thought for a second there was a Hotline Miami 3 announcement, but apparently it's just a big old joke. Which I guess is okay.
You
Yeah,
know,
I guess. Oh,
Final
sure.
Fantasy 4 is probably old enough that I could download it free. Let me
Yes.
see.
Like it's you get it on an emulator or something like that. So
Yeah, no, it is, and it's officially free too. It's just like in the public, it's just abandonware. Yeah,
huh,
semi-officially free.
cool. Honestly, I just wanted my
Okay,
boy
then I'm gonna do
Tyrion to
that.
kill things.
Because Chrono Trigger is one. It's on my wish list for some reason. I have no idea why. Because I know for a fact that you can download Chrono Trigger free very easily. There is no reason to pay money for Chrono Trigger. I guess if you're a nice guy to support the developers, but let's be honest, we're all poor here.
Yep. There is an Age of Empires 4 that was announced, which is I'm not sure how to feel about it. Like because they didn't.
Age of Empires franchise, I guess.
Yeah, it's a good franchise. And Age of Empires 2 is the classic. Uh, it's a classic. Point is, I'm trying to think. It's the classic real-time strategy game, and it's. I don't know. Like it's old and it works, and the reason why it works is because it's not balanced at all. It's incredibly imbalanced, and they actually nearly ruined the game with an update they made. Because they basically made somebody too early game rush-y, and just ruined everything. Which is pretty funny. Um, so here's the thing. It's trying to capture a spirit that I don't know if people play RTSs like they used to, and I don't know. I'm hoping it doesn't fail, but it might fail. But we'll see what happens. There's a Halo Infinite.
So,
Huh?
one thing that I have an eye on. Have you ever seen Ultimate War Gettysburg?
Is that like the first Civil War like real-time strategy game or something?
Not exactly. Ultimate War Gettysburg is literally it's semi-real time, like it's accelerated time, but semi-real time strategy, and it's just the Battle of Gettysburg. But I played it. It's really good. It's also like almost impossible to win as the South, which I guess is accurate, but also kind of depressing.
I mean, it's
Also
accurate.
kind of depressing as you play it. Yeah, you can win It's not that hard to win as the player. It'll probably take you a couple of tries just to learn the mechanics, but after a couple of tries, you can win fairly easily as the North, and it's almost impossible to win the game as the South, which I guess is accurate, but it's pretty depressing.
Right.
However, they're making an Ultimate War Civil War, which is going to be like multiple different battles, and I'm actually really looking forward to that because Ultimate War Gettysburg was really, really good. Was actually like really good for what it was. In fact, they might have already come up with it, but either way, it's not on sale, so I'm not getting it yet. It's expensive.
As these things tend to be.
Yeah, and Steam has sales so often that it would be almost stupid not to get games on sale when they're on Steam. I have a question for you, Ben.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we've had a pretty good stream today, and we're talking about a relevant topic that is in the news. Why do we only have 2 viewers?
We have 31 playbacks.
Oh, that's pretty good.
And we've gone up to 6. So here's something that's weird. everything's pretty quiet in my neighborhood, and like very few people were at my church. I have no idea where anyone is right now.
Boy, the apocalypse really is coming.
We're hoping. Um,
We've been waiting for it. It's about time.
uh,
Honestly, I'm just impatient at this point.
you're what?
I'm just impatient at this point. Just get over with. We all
Stop
know it's
teasing
coming.
us.
Exactly. January 6th, you had everybody all excited, and then it just turned out to be a big nothing burger.
I know. People don't understand, Anthony. They don't understand. It's hard and they don't understand.
So, I own the Friends Kafka video game, which I got for literally less than $1. I got it for like, 68 or 69 cents or something. And the Franz Kafka video game, some of the bad reviews are the gameplay doesn't make any sense, and I don't know what it is that allows you to win or lose, which led to all of the smartest people going in and pointing out, you realize that this is a perfect example of what the Franz Kafka video game's gameplay should be, right?
If it isn't 5 hours of me trying to install
Incomprehensible.
it, I don't want to hear about it.
And, borderline unful, then why did you even get it?
Right.
So I read those reviews and I'm like, I'm looking forward to this game. Me and this game are going to get along.
This is
Definitely going to
exactly.
be. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, but it's just weirdly quiet out there. Flight Simulator is getting a Top Gun expansion, and Sea of Thieves is getting Pirates of the Caribbean stuff. Sure. I guess.
Creativity is dead. Why not?
Yeah, creativity's dead. You know. Ho hum. I enjoy the Soma and am currently grinding up a line of lotus leaves to snort
Look,
through a
just eat the
worthless
bugs.
$100 bill.
Just eat the bugs and live in the pod.
No, I want to live in a cardboard box in an alleyway outside the pod houses, 'cause that's affordable. I only pay $600 a month for the box.
Oh, it's funny because otherwise you'd be crying.
Yep, pretty much. Uh,
Let's see. Probably the worst game that I own, I've actually finished the story mode for, was My Hero Once Justice, which looked cool, was super disappointing. I figured out about halfway through the game that if you spam Deku's like finger gun attack, he has a he has a range attack. If you
yes.
remember, I think he calls it the Air Force Smash or something
Yeah,
in
something
the
like that.
manga and the anime. It doesn't matter, but he can flick his finger and shoot a burst of air at somebody. So he has a long range attack. And I figured out about halfway through One Justice that if you spam Deku's Air Force attack, you can literally not lose. And I tested this by switching the game to hard mode and having Deku fight All Might, who's obviously the toughest character in the game. And just by spamming his Air Force attack, I got away with almost no damage.
Oh, that's
So
unfortunate.
that was that was kind of disappointing. The fact is, it's kind of weird because on one hand, so some of the characters are just way harder to play as than others. Like Stain, at one point there's like a villain mode and you have to fight Todoroki as Stain, and it probably took me around 30 tries or something to win, which sort of makes sense because Stain's power is that he has swords and he needs to cut you and then lick your blood, and then he can temporarily delay you. And Todoroki's power is that he can shoot fire and ice. And one of these things is not like the other. So I suppose that in a fight between Todoroki and Stain, Todoroki should have the advantage. But on the other hand, it feels really weird for there to be a fighting game where the balance between the various characters is so lopsided. Like, nobody is going to be fighting as Stain versus All Might, and okay, I guess that's fine. But why is Stain in the game then?
But why?
That level freaking sucked. Man, I hated that. Literally, like, probably over 30 tries until I could beat that one level.
Sounds gross. Sounds like they didn't balance it out properly.
No, and they made a sequel, and I would have bought it if the original was, like, any good at all. But it was pretty bad.
Okay.
Also, I finished the story mode, and I only have 17 hours of gameplay, so that should tell you something, too, about the length of it.
I mean, 17 hours of gameplay is pretty decent.
Depends. For a full AAA title, I would want something. I would want at least 20. This isn't an indie game. If it were an indie game, I might be okay with that.
I guess.
I guess I didn't finish the villain campaign though, so I will give it that. It probably would end up going up to 20 if I went through the villain campaign. So I'll retract the criticism. I'll be fair. Let's see. I own the Steins Gate visual novel. I don't know. It's Steins Gate. If you like Steins Gate, it's good. If you don't, probably shouldn't be paying for the Steins Gate visual novel then. I just have a bunch of games that I never actually played.
I getcha. Atomic Heart looks really good. I keep on wanting to talk about this because it is something that really interests me. It's like a it's BioShock. You're right. It's BioShock except Russian flavored.
That's the only problem that I have with it. Like,
let me fucking talk about it.
The setting.
Let me talk about it. Shush.
Fine.
All right.
Talk about your.
That's right. Thank you so much. I was about to tell Mom on you, but so I like it. I like the look of it. The gameplay looks a little funky, but I think it's gonna have a pretty good rhythm because it looks like it's got heavy swinging for a lot of damage, but they do a lot of damage to you, so it's kind of like this dance around stuff. The bosses look absolutely cool from what I've seen. There's this fat giant robot that shoots up in the air, shoots bombs, slams down, break dances for a second, shooting out more bombs, and then slams into a wall, and a whole bunch of other things like that. But the real key to its success is going to be the graphics. The graphics look amazing. It looks fantastic. It's got body horror that
look cool. I'll give you that.
Thank you. It's got all kinds of crazy, awesome, cool body horror type stuff going on for it. It's got monsters that writhe out of flesh. The robots look like robots. It looks like a Soviet era futurism thing mixed in with all kinds of horror for a mad scientist's dream. And it's got a kind of, I don't want to say humor to it, it's got character. Characters interact with weapons and ideas and things, and they have to get health back, you put a little pod next to your wrist, and these little tendrils shoot up and connect with the pod, sucking out the red stuff. It looks amazing. I've been following this thing for 3 years, since it first hit my registry, and it was kind of viewed as vaporware for the last year or so. but they're starting to really pump up their marketing, which I think is a really good sign. Like, even if this thing's kind of bad gameplay wise, it's not going to disappoint visually, and it's not going to disappoint in like the uniqueness of the settings from what I've seen so far. And honestly, novelty is the only thing that gets me going in the morning. And no, I'm kidding. It's like, Ben, you're so jaded on video
Uh,
games. I'm just like, yes.
well, to be fair here, I don't think that the gameplay is going to be bad for the simple reason that I liked playing Bioshock. I thought it was fun.
Oh, sure.
So if they're just gonna copy Bioshock, there are worse games to copy.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and it just, like, it's one of those things where I like it. I like the look of it. I like everything I'm seeing about it, and I want to play it, even if it's not as good as I want it to be. Uh, but that's the risk we take about these things. Oh well, that's all I wanted to say about it. It just looks really good. I'll probably talk more about it later when it shows up. Um, just because, you know, it looks cool. And it's got this cool little theme to it. Do 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 do. It sounds Russian. Yes. Bradford Walker says, "Let the Russians try to disappoint. Let them try." Absolutely. All right. I'm gonna look
So
through.
the only thing about Atomic Heart, it's not so much that Atomic Heart looks as totally devoid of personality and ideas as the other games, so much as will it get me. I'm trying to think of how to put it. It's not going to get me to buy it.
I getcha. I might. I don't know. I'm sort of looking through it. Apparently, there's a Life is Strange sequel, which. Eh, eh.
I have said this, and I've seen it. There's basically one game that would get graphics on that PS5, that PS5 graphics level. You gotta play it.
What game is that?
Life is Strange.
Oh, gross.
So yes, I will get it for the Life is Strange sequel, but nothing else.
All right.
No, I would get a PS5 for its Life is 5. I would get a PS5 if they actually ever made a Portal 3. Now, granted, many people will tell you, and they will be correct when they say, but Portal 2 doesn't need a sequel. To which I would respond, I don't care. If they make a Portal 3, I'll go and get it. Let's see.
So I searched for a game, and Elder Scrolls Skyrim came on, and I'm like, no. What's wrong with you? Todd, no, Todd.
Our viewers have dropped down to 1.
I don't
And
care.
it's probably me.
It's probably you. Don't worry about it. So they don't cover people who are also listening in the past.
See, what's weird to me is I actually think this has been a pretty decent stream, like, overall. Sure, it's had some meandering, but we've talked about some interesting stuff, at least in my mind.
Don't worry about the numbers.
So I'm like, why are we losing?
Stop worrying about the numbers. Ah! We're not big enough to worry about numbers. Though there's this movie called Rock and Rule, which was it's pretty good. I enjoy it. It's got pretty decent music to it, and but basically the guy makes a pact with a demon to be popular forever, and what drives him to this extreme is that he always had sold out music venues until one day he didn't sell one seat in the house. And that sent him on a spiral of despair to, you know, make a pact with demons and sacrifice a whole auditorium's worth of people to ensure his popularity forever.
Not gonna lie, that sounds pretty funny.
It's pretty great. Is it kind of dumb? Yeah, a little bit, but eh. Scorn has some announcement going. That's basically the H.R. Geiger game. Um, some Warhammer. Scorn looks pretty good, but I am super cautious about it. Some people are excited for Slime Rancher 2, which apparently somebody's making a snowboarding simulator. Outer Worlds 2 already, which surprised me. It's by Obsidian, so it's supposed to be pretty okay. But I don't know. Oh, and we've got our fourth Left 4 Dead shooter, Redfall.
Oh, we do?
Yep, we've got 4 Left
What
4
is this one
Deads.
like?
Uh, let's see here. Even though there's no gameplay, something, cute dog-like robot, and apparently there might be magic in this. Hold on. They got a Rastafarian on the cover, so I don't know how it feels. Just kind of a bunch of weird stuff in this. It's by Bethesda, though, so I will pass on principle. But yeah, they've got all kinds of weird weapons. It looks like what Fortnite was until they made the Battle Royale and like did it, except without the base building. Like with all the weird weapons and abilities and stuff like that that they were starting to talk about before they decided to follow the money. And there's a vampire shooting fire, and they've got magic. I don't know. It looks weird. I don't like it. What's with this Left 4 Dead revival?
So, yeah, it's kind of odd. Like, even Valve got into it with their recent update of the game. So, what's this fourth one called? Because I'm curious.
Redfall. Redfall. Can you hear my air conditioner out of curiosity?
I can. I just. What was that?
Redfall.
I heard you. I heard you give the name. So it's an open world vampire. It's like it's not even hiding that it's a Left 4 Dead clone. No, guys, it's totally different. It's a vampires. Okay, no, I'm serious though. Maybe it's a good idea.
I don't know. It looks dumb. And it's by Bethesda.
The and thank you, Brad, for putting them all out there. So Evil Dead is one I don't care about. Back 4 Blood actually looks good, and I'm genuinely excited about it. I've been like keeping my eye on that for a long time now. The Anacrusis. Let me see. I have the Redfall site loading. Let me look up the Anacrusis. Oh, it's an untrust pickup or lead-in note or group of notes that precedes the first sentence note of a phrase, short unit of musical line. Okay, that's great, but what about the game? The Anacrusis is a new co-op. There we go. That's fine. Slowly. Open world co-op shoot coming summer 2022. Wow, that's a long time. Okay, this does look a little bit different for Left 4 Dead. Like, it has its own feel to it to me. Like a pick. Also,
Oh yeah, that Vampire the Masquerade game I talked about earlier was a battle royale. I forgot to mention that.
for diversity here.
So much diversity.
No, it's just feeling. I'm looking at a short-haired, probably. Yeah, short-haired, probably lesbian.
Oh boy.
Black woman with awful hair.
All I heard was something something lesbian, black woman, awful hair. Sounds about right.
Uh,
Hmm?
Hispanic dude. And that's a white guy. I don't know why. I couldn't tell the reason. Maybe
Anthony, I don't understand you. You're not coming in.
odds of her being before. Let me see. I'm looking up the Anna Cruz. Okay. So, the Anna Crucis looks to me like Left 4 Dead.
Okay.
That definitely looks like Left 4 Dead. Huh. Yeah, neither of those games, Redfall and the Anna Crucis, do not look as good as Back 4 Blood. You know why? Because Back 4 Blood is the only one that's really embracing the fact that literally just dead. All of
Yeah.
these others are like, oh, we're different, we're new. And Back 4 Blood is like, we would be called Left 4 Dead 3 if we had the rights to it.
Right. The
I even
Chad
think
position.
I even think the developer actually said that. They were like, so this game is Left 4 Dead 3. It would be called Left 4 Dead 3 if we were allowed to call it that. That is the game.
Sounds about right.
I mean, maybe it'll work.
I don't know, dude. I've lost so much of your conversation just now that I don't really know what you're saying.
I was saying that the whole cards thing looks dumb, but maybe it'll work.
Ah, there we go.
I mean, apparently you could disable it, so at least it won't ruin the game. Yeah, I don't know. We're 9 minutes early, but E3 is honestly slim pick. So, I don't really have anything else to add. Do you have anything to get us through our final 8 minutes?
Uh,
We hit 8:52.
no, not really. I'm not really feeling it either. There's just nothing here that's meaty to talk about. And like, even though I really liked Atomic Heart, I just don't know enough about it to do anything with it. And so it's just like, whatever. So, alright, guys, thank you for joining us. Next time, we will be much less low energy. Obviously, we have not taken our Alex Jones testosterone suppositories. Anthony, don't you worry, I will drive over to help you with them, and then you can help me with them, just as the founding fathers and Alex Jones intended. How about that?
Ben, you gotta visit New Jersey this summer.
I probably
Before
will.
before the roads get blown out. Before the roads get blown out.
So here's the thing, though. Like, I don't want to get stuck in New Jersey during the Civil War. I just don't. I don't.
If
I
you
don't.
get stuck in Warren County, it won't be that bad.
You don't understand. I am absolutely prejudiced against Italians. It is not a I don't trust you thing because you're Anthony. Anthony, you know I love you as a Christian brother. but you're Italian.
That's perfectly fair.
Bradford Walker says Alex Jones was right. Yep. What's that little ditty? I'll sing a few bars of it. You know, dun da 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 da. I can't do a Kermit voice. I can't do a Kermit voice as good as Jordan Peterson, but I'm gonna try. Why are there so many songs about conspiracy theories? Damn it, I can't do it.
That was probably the worst Kermit voice I've ever heard. I don't even know what that was. You gotta hold your nose and do it.
Huh?
Why are there so many songs about conspiracy theories? You gotta hold your nose.
Alright.
Get that vibrato.
Something like this? Why?
Yeah, so it's better. It's better.
Okay. I'm gonna sing us a
No,
little song here called "You Conspiracy Theory Friend Was Right and You Owe Him an Apology." Friendship's really important. Yeah.
Ben, get out of New Jersey and into Vietnam or whatever ASAP. I'm trying. I'm gonna send over some documents tomorrow, and hopefully, I'll pick up a visa soon. But we'll see. I got a job though, so we'll see what happens. Like, here's the thing, guys. I'm just waiting for the day I snap and become a second John Brown. That's what's gonna happen. Because honestly, it's much more interesting to talk about the American Civil War, and that's honestly, you know what? That's what we're talking about next week. We're talking about the American Civil War. Because why not? I don't think they like the fact that I called this episode like beating a dead horse. I think, oh, no, I do talk about E3. I think I advertised it as being a dead horse. Well.
Yeah, you did on Facebook, I think.
Yep. Though I wasn't wrong. In fact, I was based. So, I'm going to let you guys go. Have a good one.